Hey everyone, this is Mike from Camunda, just chiming in to let you know we're going to get started in just about a minute, so we'll be starting very soon here. Hey everyone, it's Mike again. Thank you for joining us today for our Optimize 2.1 release webinar. We did the same webinar in German this morning, had a great time with it, so looking forward for the second edition here in English. And so what we're going to do is discuss some of the features that were included in the 2.1 release in the context of a demo. You'll also have a chance to ask some questions for our team here. So you'll find out soon that I'm the least important person on this webinar. I'm joined by Felix, who is one of our consultants. It's his job to travel the globe and help customers get up and running with Camunda, implement best practices. He has a lot of hands-on experience with Optimize as well. He'll be walking us through the demo. And Johannes is joining us. He's our team lead, engineering team lead for the Optimize team. And so he's going to talk a little bit more about the roadmap and release cycle, just so you're in the loop on what happens there. Some quick housekeeping items. So we're recording the webinar, and we're going to send out recording to you after the fact. So that email will come in a couple of days. We really hope for the webinar to be interactive. That's why we set these up, and we get really excited when people ask questions, and actually going to start things off with a poll in just a minute. But we're going to reserve hopefully at least 10 minutes at the end where you can ask questions. There's a place where you can do that inside GoToWebinar. So see where you'll drop in your questions, and we will get to as many of them as we can. And so, as promised, we want to start with a poll where we find out how familiar everyone on the call is with Optimize. This can help guide us for what we cover in the demo. And so what we're going to do is open this up for about a minute, and then we'll share the results with you. So you should see in just a moment a poll in the GoToWebinar app. All right, seeing a lot of responses rolling in. Thank you for that. We'll keep it open for another 20 seconds or so. And we'll share the results, and we'll get started with the heart of the webinar. All right, let's take a look at what we saw. We've got a pretty even split here, so this is good. So we've got some people on the call who are using Optimize in production, others who are completely new to it. So think that we're going to give you something today that'll help you whether you're new to Optimize, and we'll cover some of the high-level concepts, but we'll also get into detail about what's new in this release. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Felix to talk us through the demo.
Okay, hello everyone, also from my side. Thanks, Mike, for the introduction. So this is the agenda that we're going to have for today, for this webinar, for the next 40 minutes roughly, and then we're going to have the Q&A. So first, what I would like to start with is about what is Optimize. This is particularly interesting for the people who are very new to this tool. Then we're going to also have a live demo for the existing features that we also had already before the 2.1 release. And then also during this demo, I'm going to highlight the new features, what is actually new in 2.1, so what the team built during the last few months. Also, later on today, we will talk about the next steps. So basically, our roadmap and also our release cycle. And then we will talk about how you can get started with Optimize on your own. If you think this tool is really interesting and you haven't tried it out yet, then we will give you some guidance here, how we can help you from the Camunda side. So let's get started. Before we look more into Optimize, I want to give you a brief overview of Camunda itself, of our stack, what we offer in general. So on the left-hand side, you can see that we have a modeling tool that is called the Camunda Modeler. This tool is responsible or can be used for modeling BPMN diagrams, so you can create your own workflows. This tool can be used from the business side, but can also be used from the IT side, so from developers to actually make the processes or your workflows executable. As you can see, once you're done with the modeling phase, we have a second phase that we call the execution phase. And obviously there's the core of a product, which is the workflow engine, which is responsible for executing the workflows that you have defined in your BPMN diagrams with the help of the Camunda Modeler. All the data that you create during process execution is saved in a relational database per default, and can be accessed by different tools. So we come out of the box with 3 different web applications. The first one being the task list. The task list is a tool for task workers who work or execute human tasks within your workflow. They will see probably some forms, they will see data that is related to your process, and they can also fill in these forms obviously and go through the process step by step. The second part, or the second web application that we offer out of the box is something that's called the Camunda Cockpit. This tool is responsible for operators to basically see what is going on in Camunda, in the Camunda engine, in the workflow engine, to see which processes you have deployed, how many instances are currently running. And what is most important about this tool is that you can use it to resolve errors within your process execution. So this is actually a tool that you would use in production to really basically make sure that everything is running within your workflow engine. The third tool that we have that we offer out of the box is Camunda Admin. This is a tool where you can configure users and groups and permissions, authorizations, and so on. We will look into admin as well today during our demo from Optimize, because there are some new features that are related also to Camunda Admin. And then lastly, there's this tool that we're going to focus on today, Camunda Optimize. This is focused or to be placed in the improve area. And what does this mean? Let's go a little bit more into detail when we talk about improvement. So as you can see, we have these different phases, how we imagine how we would implement your workflow projects more or less. So we have this design phase I was talking about earlier, where you can use the Camunda Modeler. This is used by the business and also the IT side at the same time. They probably share the BPMN diagrams with each other, or they can also work on that directly in the Camunda Modeler. And then we have the implementation phase, where you probably implement the workflows as a developer. That could be a Java developer, could be also using JavaScript or .NET or any other programming language that you like, and execute these workflows then on the workflow engine. And afterwards, we're going to have this operations phase, which is basically meaning when you are in production, you're running and executing all your workflows. And there we have this tool that's called Camunda Cockpit. And then we have this last stage, the improvement phase, which is now Camunda Optimize. So this is something that is really relevant for the business people. Our core users that we are addressing with this tool are the process owners of the processes. So the people who are actually responsible for the execution of these processes, maybe even to higher management or top management. So they want to achieve certain goals, obviously, with the processes. So usually when you define a process, it has to bring some value for your end users. And in order to understand what is going on, you need some kind of monitoring for that. So this tool, Camunda Optimize, gives you the opportunity to do business monitoring and analytics based on your workflows that you defined earlier within your BPMN, in your Camunda Modeler and eventually in the workflow engine as well. So with the help of this tool, you get a lot of transparency on top of what BPMN diagrams bring you already today. So you won't have anything down in the code, but actually visible in a tool, and you can very easily create reports that bring you all different kinds or show you key performance indicators regarding your processes. Obviously, there are other tools in that area that can be maybe similar. Many companies that we know today have or are using business intelligence tools or also data warehousing tools. And it is in general possible, obviously, to connect the data warehousing tools to Camunda. This is something that you would do in a custom integration. The Camunda engine is very flexible when it comes to integration with other tools. So it's easy, this is something that some customers do as well. The problem with these tools usually is that first of all, you have this custom implementation, which is a lot of effort in most cases. Second of all, you have the big problem that you are usually more far away from or farther away from your BPMN diagrams. So you're usually not focusing anymore directly on the workflow, but instead you're only looking at numbers that are often far away from the reality of your workflow. So it's sometimes very hard then in these data warehousing tools to see how you can really improve your process. And the third problem that we often see in these tools is, especially in large organizations, usually there's a specific team or even a whole department that is responsible for data warehousing tools or the BI tooling. And just requesting new reports from these tools can be a very challenging thing if you are just part of this maybe smaller process automation team. So you maybe create a request and then it takes a few weeks until you get a response and eventually get your report from this team. And this is something that we really want to avoid, because we want to give you the ability to directly be able to access the data that is already generated automatically by the Camunda workflow engine. So by the help of this tool in the end, you can recognize underperformance very quickly, and you can see where are critical paths in your processes, and also maybe see which departments maybe need more users or more humans to execute human tasks, or maybe even which IT systems are slow. All things like that. We're going to look at that in more detail in a second. So I will continue and directly jump into these different feature clusters that our tool offers. So Camunda Optimize is built basically in 3 different big clusters. The first one being the report builder, which makes it possible for you to create reports based on your process data, obviously, that has been created in the Camunda workflow engine. And then these reports that you created, you can then store them, save them, and you can organize them in something that we call dashboards. You can have one or multiple dashboards and obviously also one or multiple reports. And the third pillar that we see here is that you can create alerts based on the reports. It could be, for example, that you have certain thresholds that you want to define in your process. And whenever this threshold is met, then you would probably alert automatically a user, send out an email maybe to management to fix the problem there and to look into that. And then there is just another part, the fourth pillar basically in Optimize, which we don't show here at the moment. This would be the analytics phase, and I will show that also in the live demo in a second. So I mentioned this live demo a couple of times already, and this is why I directly want to jump into that. Don't want to waste any time here. But instead, we're going to look at an example process that we created. It's called the hiring workflow. It's a process that probably most of you can easily understand. So it's in the end about a candidate who applies for our company for a job. He wants to get hired by us as a company, and eventually we hire him. So this would be the goal of our process, to hire as many people as possible that make obviously sense as well for our company. And how does it look like in detail? As you can see here on the BPMN diagram, We see on the left-hand side that the candidate can apply. This would be a start message event. And then on the right-hand side, you can see that the candidate has been hired. This would be the end event that we see here. And then obviously on the way, all different kinds of things can happen. So it could be, for example, that we're screening his application, we're looking at the CV, and then we decide, okay, we don't want to proceed anymore. We reject the candidate straight away after the first CV screening, or we go a little bit further, first accept this. Someone will conduct a phone interview, someone will then eventually do an on-site interview or a second on-site interview, and hopefully we will make an offer, and then we hope that our candidate replies. We can see here this message intermediate event, and someone, this person then maybe sends us an email and says, hey, I really want to have this job. But it could also happen, and this is something that I really like always in consulting, BPMN advanced constructs more or less. On the bottom left side, you can see an event subprocess. So there's the candidate cancellation, and this is something that can be triggered at any time while we are executing our process instance. So at any time in our process, the candidate could say, hey, I don't really want to be hired anymore by you. I found something else, a nicer company, a different job, or I just heard bad news about your company, right? Okay, so this makes a lot of sense. And I think this is the time where we jump now directly into Camunda Optimize. So as you can see here, I have this now locally on my machine. Well, basically locally, I'm running Docker at the moment and have the Optimize inside of a Docker image. This is also possible if you like that. Besides that, you can also just run it as a Java application. So as you can see in my web browser, I started up Optimize already. And here I can log in with the same users that we already have in the Camunda database. So I can, for example, use demo as a user, just log into the system, and then you will directly see what I just mentioned. The three different feature clusters we were talking about. We see that we have our dashboards, we see that we have our reports, and we have these alerts, and then the advanced part, more or less, we have this analysis, analytics phase, how I would like to call it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what I already created. So I prepared a little bit and already created our hiring dashboard for today. And I want to quickly show you what kind of information you can get from this dashboard. As you can see, straight away, we have here on the top left the possibility to see how many hires did we have actually in our process this year. So this is only filtered down to 2018. Our process application is already running for 2 years approximately. And in 2018, we already had 23 hires, quite a good number. But the problem is, if you look at the number of people who really started this process, this is 3,500 people applied this year for some positions in our company. Then compared to that, this is really a small number of people that we hired. So we do have some problems here in our process. What we can also see if we move a little bit down here, in this bar chart here, we can see now how many new applications came in this or during this year, and then grouped by the days basically. So we can go into every day and check and find out how many applications did we get in our process for some specific job. And you can see that this number during the last month is quite high. So especially since end of July, August, we have very high numbers. This could be, for example, due to the holiday season, at least here in Europe. At the moment, we have this is usually the summer season, is where many people have more free time. Maybe they start to look around and find a new job, because then they realize once they're on holidays that they are not really happy anymore in the company, and they just start applying somewhere else. This could be maybe the reason, or we did some nice marketing campaign on LinkedIn, or who knows what we did. Yeah, so let's go a little bit more and see what else we can see. There's one additional feature that is really nice. We can see directly on the top right here, on the BPMN diagram, we can see now how often specific steps have been executed in our workflow. Now we are not looking anymore filtered down in 2018, but instead we are looking for all the applications that we got in total during the last 2 years. And this is about 4,500 instances that have been created. And what we can see already is that at the beginning, there are quite many applications that get through. So almost 4,500 we screen CVs. But then we suddenly, we don't proceed anymore. So directly we reject about 2,700 applications we directly reject. And then if we go a little bit more to the right, we will also see that we, in the end, only hire about 31 people. So this is around eight candidates more than we did in 2018. So for 2018, we have a quite good number compared to the last years. But as you can see, we already have many more applications this year. Okay. So this is not the only thing that you can look at, but on top of that, only looking at the frequency of specific steps or the number of executions, we can on top of that look into the duration. So we can see, for example, how long specific tasks in our workflow take. So we see that our screen application takes around 4 days. And we can also see that our conduct first on-site interview takes more than 2 weeks. So this is a very high number. Now on top of that, we could also specify specific target values and compare them and see if this is a good number or not, because it could be in some situations that conducting a first on-site interview, obviously you need to organize a lot. This takes a few weeks, and screening applications maybe makes sense that it takes 4 days, but maybe it should be also 4 hours. We don't know. So this is something that you could define on top of that now in this report. I don't want to do it right now because we want to focus more on the new features as well. Instead, I want to show you another example. On the bottom left, we can see the average duration until the first rejection. So what is the first rejection? The first rejection I defined here in this diagram or in this report as the moment when we reject the candidate after screening his application, so after screening his CV. So this would be the first end event where we say we don't really want this candidate or we don't want to hire this candidate. And as you can see, this happens relatively quickly. It takes only approximately 50 minutes. This is now, we have to admit that this is demonstration data, so this could be why this is relatively short. Maybe in real life, in a real process, this would take a little bit longer. Okay, so this looks good so far. Now you are seeing all these reports, all these dashboards, and you think, okay, well, this is great, but this looks very static. So how do we really create now reports? This is really so easy, and I would say yes, it is. So we're going to jump over to the report section and create one of our own reports now together. So on the top right, you can see a button here, create new report. We will click on that, and what I am interested now at the moment is, so how many candidates cancel on their own? So I talked about this earlier. I really like the event subprocess. And this is what I want to analyze now. So let's check that. Cancel applications, we call this report. We again choose the hiring demo. What is really nice and optimized, you can also analyze a specific version of a process in your report, or you can also just do a report across all different process definition versions if you prefer that. That can be interesting if you had only minor changes in your process and you just want to look on the whole data. We have only one process definition at the moment for this example process. We will focus on this one. And as I mentioned, I'm interested currently in the number of process instances for the canceled applications. So I will choose the count process instance frequency. At the moment, I don't really want to group that. I just want to get the number. So at the moment, we get now the total number of all applications. And now I will go ahead and add some filters to really find my canceled applications. And I will use something that is called the flow node feature. This is a really great thing. So I have again here this BPMN diagram. And by just clicking on the BPMN symbol that I'm interested in, the filter is created automatically for me. So it says it will only look at instances now where this flow node has been executed, which is exactly what we want. We want to look at the canceled applications. And then this is 1,000. So this is a large number from my point of view. It's 1/4 almost of our applicants. And then on top of that, what I will do is I will look only at the numbers from this year. So this is how you can see we have different options on creating these start date filters. And then I will go ahead and add this number. Okay. What I can do as well, if this visualization is maybe not really nice for me, I could also say, okay, let's look how this looks like during the last weeks maybe. I could, for example, create a bar chart for this, or I could also go ahead, have a nice area chart, or plain good table could do the job as well. I would say we stick for now with the area chart. We save this thing, and then we can go to our dashboard, the hiring dashboard, go into the edit mode, and then you can see, right? I'm very flexible here. I can change the sizes of my diagrams, of my reports, and I can easily add new reports as well. So this would be the canceled applications. Make it a little bit larger so we can all see that. And then I go back and I will save the whole thing. And then I could go ahead maybe and share this with a colleague if I like to. So this could be a view-only link if I want that. And just copy that and send it to a friend. Okay, so this is really nice. So this is what we already had in Optimize 2.0. There are also, as I mentioned, more features. For example, there's analysis features and there's this alert feature. But I also want to spend some more time on like the new features, right? This is really exciting for those of you who know Optimize 2.0 already, what comes next. So the first thing I want to do is, let's imagine, for example, we have here our hires for 2018. Now it could be that the requirement from the top management, they defined our target for this. So they said, we want to have 20 applications for every single department that we have in our company. So we have maybe IT, we have maybe sales, marketing, and for each department, 20 people, because we are growing quickly. So let's see what we can do here. We have now this single number, right? This is not really what we need at the moment to show this to the management. So we will go ahead, and what I will do is I will click here on the target value, and then I can define in a very flexible way what is my target value. And as I mentioned, I just came up with this 20, and we can see now we reached this target already, right? We have 23. But additionally, I said we want to look at the single departments. So now we have to go ahead and add another filter. So we will go into the variable filter here. And then there's another very nice feature from in 2.1. So we have a variable type ahead. Before we had a very simple select dropdown, and that was kind of a challenge when you had many process variables in your process. So now it's very easy to just basically just type a few letters, and it will directly show you the correct element that we need. So at the moment we want to look at the department, and then straight away it will show you all the different options that you have available. And just to make this clear, this data, these available values that we are seeing here now on the user interface, they are generated automatically from the historic data that we have in Camunda BPM. So this is nothing that you have to develop on your own or configure or anything like that. But instead this will show up directly. And because I still like IT a lot, I will do that for the IT department for now, and I will add this filter. And as you can see, our progress bar, this is one of the new exciting features, it automatically adjusts, and now we have only 4 out of 20, so we haven't really reached our target yet. We can save the thing still and go back to our dashboard, and we will then see the same progress bar also nicely in our dashboard. So management not going to be happy probably, but we still have a few months time, so I think we might manage to do that. Meanwhile, it could be that at the same time the management says, "Hey, this is nice that you have this new dashboard here, but remember, a few years ago we bought this BI tool, and I still have a very specific report that is not directly connected to Camunda BPM, but I do have some data there. I do have some data there that I want to display in my dashboard, and I want to see that all the time." This can be interesting, right? So imagine you are in such a situation. What do you do? What do you do? Not everything is automated in Camunda BPM, but instead you have some other system maybe to integrate. And there comes a very cool feature, again here now in Optimize 2.1. So we can add reports not only from Camunda Optimized, but we can also add external reports. So we can say we have a report that is saved somewhere else on a different system, on a different website. And I prepared something. I have here just a screenshot, could be also a website. I think this is very similar to what we are showing at the moment. So this is about jobs and departments, some historic data that I got from somewhere. And I just put that in here at the report, and you can see directly this image appears here. I can now also change that from the size if I like, and just leave it here. I think this looks very good. So just save that, and as you can see when we scroll down, this is a really nice external report that we have now on our dashboard. And you can imagine all different kinds of things with this. And in Germany, for example, we have one customer who really uses that to display current weather data on their dashboard. I think this is a very nice thing. I can't share the name obviously today, but I think this is a cool feature. Okay, let's go and continue with the next feature. Let's go again and create some more reports. So we have seen all different kinds of numbers now, and during the last 15-20 minutes, and now it could be that you want to go deeper into analyzing this data. It could be that you want to maybe also take this data and analyze it in existing other systems. Maybe you want to take it out, download the data, and things like that. So something that we have is very, very exciting. This is the raw data feature. So if you click on raw data, it will show you everything that is related to this specific process definition, or also to multiple process definitions, directly here in a table view. So we not only have the process definition, but we also have the process instance ID, which can be interesting if you want to do deeper analysis in, for example, in the cockpit. Or it could be also interesting to look at when was it started, when did it end, and where did it come from. So Camunda Optimized supports, you can connect it to different Camunda BPM workflow engines, to different databases, and this is what we can see here. This is our hiring process engine. And then we have all different kinds of variables that have been created throughout our process. Most of them we just seen in this dropdown. Cool. Now you would say, the experienced user will say, okay, but this is not new, this is 2.0. I already know this. So what is really new? The new thing is we have very nice new feature. I just saved that. We have pagination now. This is a really nice thing. So we not only have a very long list, but instead you can just go through these pages very easily, and it reacts instantly. So this is a very nice user experience here. On top of that, we have a very nice feature that you can say, I don't want to see everything, but instead I can disable specific columns in my for my report. So for us it was interesting to see the department, I think. So we can define now what we really want to see in our table. And obviously this can then be also displayed in the end on our dashboard. So I will just leave it like this. And what else can you do? You can see that maybe we only want to show the department at the very beginning. So you can drag and drop the columns, and maybe also at the position here, move it more to the left. So this is very easy to arrange now your columns in Optimize here in this raw data report. We make the process instance IDs a little bit larger so we can see them better. And yeah, this looks really good, I think. So now let's save this whole thing. As you can see, we could also even download this as CSV, as I mentioned. If you're interested to looking at that into a different tool, maybe this makes sense. And then we can go ahead to our dashboard, and we could also add the same thing here, right? I didn't give it a name. Okay, that's fine for now, I think. Good. So as you can see, now we also have this table here. We can scroll through this or step through it as we prefer. Good. One very, very nice thing is, imagine we have now access to this tool as a demo user. So this was good. I logged in at the very beginning, if you remember, as demo. Some of you might remember demo is basically this admin user in Camunda BPM. So it has this user has access to everything per default. Now it could be we have another person in our department. So we have a person that is called Lisa. Lisa, she wants to get access to the system because she has heard Optimize is great. So she tries to log in. Surprisingly for her, this doesn't work. So she calls the Camunda admin, the administrator of our application, and says, hey, listen, I want to log into Optimize. What do I do? As I mentioned, we have to configure this in Camunda admin. So let's move to this Camunda admin and refresh this page. I will log in as the admin here. And as we can see here now in the Camunda cockpit, Lisa is already in the authorizations and applications. She already has access to Camunda cockpit. As you can see, the Camunda admin group, they have access to everything. So if we want to give her access now to Optimize, I will just do it like this. Maybe no more access to cockpit for now. We could change that obviously as well. But I will give her rights now to access Optimize. So now she can directly log in. So this is great. The problem with this is now Lisa, she realizes, oh, there's a hiring dashboard. This is interesting data. But Lisa is part of our IT department. And as a software engineer, she really doesn't have the need to see this data. So there's basically now a data privacy breach in our Camunda Optimize. So what can we do now? This is very, very nice in Optimize 2.1 now. We can say, hey, listen, Lisa, sorry that you saw this data, but I unfortunately, I can't give you this access. So I will give access to this maybe to Paul. Paul is your manager. As a manager maybe of the IT department, he has access to this data. So I will have to remove this from your user. And once I log out and Lisa on the next day, she goes into the system because she wants to look again how many hires have been made. She clicks, she still sees this dashboard, so she's really excited, but then she clicks on this and now no more data shows up. So she's disappointed, but this is the right thing, that nothing shows up anymore. So this is one of the new things that we have in 2.1. I just want to make it clear a little bit more by showing you something else. So it doesn't have to necessarily, you don't have to necessarily reject or deny access to everything for her. Let's go into the hiring dashboard. The hiring some report. And here you will see as an admin user, we can currently see 3 different process applications. And what we could do, for example, is we could give a specific user only rights to a few process definitions now. So just to show you this, we have 3 process definitions in total in our application. If I would give Lisa access again, this is maybe not the right thing, but I think for demo purposes, this is fine. And if Lisa logs in again and she tries to create her own report, then you will see that she doesn't have access to these other process definitions, just because per default they are not allowed because we didn't give her access in Camunda admin. We only gave her access now to the hiring demo, right? So this is what we have here. She has access to read this information. Yeah, cool. I think these are very nice things. But there's one more thing. One more thing that I really want to highlight today. I know there are a few more features that we haven't covered today, but I think this is fine. There's one more thing that is very important. In order to explain that, we need to understand the architecture of Optimize a little bit better. This is why we are back now in the presentation. I want to show you, there's on the left-hand side, you can see the Camunda engine with its relational database. On the right-hand side, you can see Camunda Optimize. How is this data stored in Optimize? We store that per default, we store that in Elasticsearch. So once you download Camunda Optimize from our website, for example, and you start it up first, it will automatically pull all the data from the Camunda engine via the REST API and insert everything in this Elasticsearch. This Elasticsearch could be the one that we give you in the full distribution, but it could be also your own Elasticsearch that you already have, maybe as a service somewhere in your organization. So there you are relatively flexible. Good. So now we said this data is imported via the REST API. So what is interesting now? There has been a major change regarding the import mechanism in Camunda Optimize in version 2.1. So Johannes and his team have been working on that and for a while. On the one hand side, they have improved the performance of the import a lot. So there was a major improvement regarding that. If you're interested in numbers, you can see that in the documentation as well on the website. There are some numbers that you get a feeling of how quickly this data is important. But the more important thing, I think now from the customer perspective is right now that in version 2.1, before 2.1, the data in Camunda BPM, in Camunda Optimize were always in sync, which meant if you deleted data, historic process data in Camunda BPM, it was also deleted in Camunda Optimize. Now in Camunda BPM, we have for a while a feature that is called history cleanup and history time to live. So you maybe know it, per process definition, you can define how long historic data for a specific process definition should be kept after a process has been completed or after a process instance has been completed. And then automatically this data will be erased. So imagine our hiring demo. We might have this running for 3 years. And from reporting perspective, we are interested in the data for 3 years. But in our production system, we don't want to have all of the data in Camunda BPM in the relational tables because that might take up a lot of space. So we get rid of the last 2 years maybe, but the problem was before 2.1 that then you couldn't analyze this data anymore. So this was just gone. And since 2.1 now, this has been changed. So now we will store all the historic data that we have in Camunda Optimize, and nothing will be deleted there just because it has been deleted in Camunda BPM. Yeah, I think this is a really good feature that will bring a lot of value and also has been requested by different customers and prospects. So that's a really cool thing. Okay, I think this is it for now, what I wanted to cover regarding the new features. And what I would like to hear now, and I would like to ask Johannes, if that's fine. I would like to ask him, so we have seen now 2.1, many new features, really nice. We are now at the beginning of August. We released this like a month ago. I think you and your team, you already have some time, and I would like to hear what are the next things that we can expect on the roadmap, and when will be the next release, because I want to see new features for customers as well.
Yeah, hello from me again as well, and thanks for the great demo there, Felix, and I'm happy to answer the question. So the release cycle of Optimize is every 3 months. So the last release was 2.1, as Felix mentioned, in end of June. So the next one is in the end of September. In between, we have 2 alpha releases for those people that cannot wait. I can totally understand that. So the next alpha release is actually tomorrow. So feel free to check that out. Yeah, and the other question was what is next on the roadmap. Actually, those are already things that are covered by the next alpha release already, which is coming out tomorrow. Those are, for example, that you can group by variables. So let's say, what does this feature mean? You have the hiring demo, right? And there you have the variable departments or positions. Maybe positions even more interesting. And those positions could be that you have a software developer, if you're head of marketing, you have, I don't know, team lead. And then you are really interested actually how many applications were there for each of those positions. And then you can group those by the variables with the new release. So you are able to see how many applications came in for each position. Really nice feature. But of course there are so many variables, so I could imagine to think of so many more scenarios where you could apply that. Another great thing is actually that with the next release you are able to also use complex variables. Most of the people don't store their all the information in primitive variables, but also have complex variables. Let's think of the hiring demo again. Okay, each candidate could, for example, have an address, and you are you are interested in where are the people coming from that apply to your company. And then it would be, of course, the address would be I mean, it's not a primitive variable, it's not just a string or a number. It's, of course, containing the street, the zip code, and the country, and so on and so forth. And then it might be very interesting, where I just want to get to know the information, where those people are actually coming from. So maybe the country is already enough. Then I extract the information from the complex variables, map that to a primitive variable, and then I'm able to filter for which countries the people are coming from. So really nice. Also there, Felix already mentioned in the demo that it's possible to filter or to apply operations on the process instance durations and flow node durations. But with the old optimized or with the 2.1 release, it's only possible to apply the average operation. But with the new release, also already with the alpha release, so check that out definitely. You can already apply min, max, and so you get the minimum, get the maximum, the median. Maybe you're interested, for example, which applications took a very long time before they were actually finished, and that could be interesting because, I mean, the longer those applications or the hiring process takes, the more likely it is that the candidate cancels his application, right? So that might be it might be interesting to find out why this happens. So with the new release, that's definitely possible. Also, we could get a couple of new features, for example, filters. For example, if you want to know where like we already have a flow node filter, and you want to know which flow nodes were not executed by certain process instances, or you want to know which you will only want to have a look at the process instances that were canceled. That's also something that we're gonna add. Also, we have a lot of UI UX improvements. I just want to name a few here. You can right now you get the whole list of reports and dashboards and alerts and so on and so forth. And in the future, you are able to actually search through them quite easily by just filtering them by name. So it's really cool. You just have an input field, you type in a name, and then you easily, like the whole list gets filtered, and then you don't have to search all the time. Yes, I think there's even many more that you can expect. There's only a couple of them, but those are really great features, and I'm really looking forward what's coming as well. But I think it's enough for now to just give you an overview, and also that you see that we are really work a lot on Optimize, because people are really interested and really want to have more. So it's really cool. So the new Optimize will be packed with new features. Mike, you want to add something here?
No, that was it,
Okay.
I think, on the new feature side, but wanted to let everyone know that if you want to learn more about Optimize, we do offer an Optimize workshop. So you can spend a day with a Camunda expert, learn more about Optimize, start to set it up, see how it might address your specific use case. I think a lot of people find this beneficial as they're going through the evaluation process, and then also helps them get started more quickly if they decide to move forward with Optimize. So anyway, you can reach out to us, camunda.com/contact, if you want to get in touch. And so I think that was it for content. We would love to answer questions. We've seen a few come in, so we'll get to those in just a minute. Also, I want to take a moment to thank Felix for that marathon demo. It's very hot in Berlin. We're in the midst of a massive heat wave, and I can see the thermometer in the room that it went up by 2 degrees centigrade during that demo. Didn't miss a beat, so thank you so much for taking us through that. It's very helpful. So with that, we'll go ahead and answer some questions. All right, so first question is whether there's a REST endpoint for exposing raw data for reports. This could be useful for BI reporting.
Well, there's I would answer that question. There is no REST endpoint that is freely available that you can just use and then extract the data from there. But it is possible, as Felix already mentioned, to export the data as a CSV file. So you don't, it's not possible to just use a REST endpoint, but maybe it's also very comfortable to just use the UI of Optimize, export it to a CSV file. Then you can analyze it if you want to automatically analyze it, or just use, for example, Excel to get some more insight into your raw data. Maybe that already helps.
I saw a second question coming in, so there. Let me just read that. So it says I don't really want to have an on-site workshop for now, but how can I try it out directly at home? So I can maybe take this one. Yes, you can do that. So if you just go to camunda.com/download, you can easily just download the Camunda Optimize also together with Camunda BPM. So Camunda Optimize is an enterprise only feature or enterprise only tool, which means you will receive a trial license if you sign up on our website, and you can try that out for around 30 days. And you can also contact sales or your account manager, of course, if you want to try it out for a longer period, maybe, or if you're already an existing customer.
Cool. Had another question come in. I think this is one for Johannes. Will Optimizer support databases aside from Elasticsearch, or is that a near-term plan, or what's the thinking?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting question. Well, we thought about having different databases, and we also tried out different kinds of databases. We specifically decided on Elasticsearch because it's really fast. As Felix already showed, you get instantly the nearest data. You don't have to wait very long. It's very, very efficient. So that was that's why we decided for Elasticsearch. Of course, everything is now based on Elasticsearch. So for the near future and midterm future, it's definitely not planned to have another database. In the future, if there are more requests like this coming in, we could definitely think about supporting another one. But for now, I would say no, Elasticsearch is the only one.
Cool. So another one we can look at here. Someone is interested if they can import data from external sources if they only have foreign keys in Camunda.
Maybe this is something I can take as well, because it's more related to consulting. So it is possible in Camunda Optimize to write your own plugin for importing variables, which means whenever a variable instance, historic variable instance, is being inserted in your Elasticsearch, you can insert some custom code, and you can say, okay, when this foreign key comes in, I then talk to my existing external system and just query the data, the additional data that I'm interested in, into Elasticsearch, and just insert it there. And then we can use the same filters, the variable filters, and later on also the group by variables as we have just seen it in the user interface. So this is definitely possible. If you need help with that, there's a documentation on that on our website. And of course, consulting can easily help you here, or also the support, I think.
I got another question. Funny thing, it's actually, this question was already asked in the German session, so seems to be a popular topic here. It's about DMN, and my company is using a lot of DMN tables, and of course, we would really like to analyze this data as well, especially the frequency of how often those DMN tables are called, and like the percentage of like each row, for example. Yes, that's also something we definitely think about. We already put it on the roadmap. I cannot guarantee that we already implemented with the next release, so with Optimize 2.2. But I'm sure, like midterm, we definitely implement that. This is something we have on our roadmap. We want to implement, and yeah, you just wait for it. It's gonna come.
All right. Looks like that's all of the questions. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. So yeah, covered a lot today. And this is Diane, and really appreciate everyone spending time with us. And like I said, look out for an email in a couple of days, and we will get you the recording of this webinar. So have a nice day, everyone, and hope to see you at the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was my